All right, on to the next big story. Hunter Biden is now the first son of a sitting U.S. president to be convicted of a crime. Yesterday, a Delaware jury found him guilty of all 3 federal charges stemming from a lie about his drug use when he bought a gun in 2018. He could face prison time, and the president says he will not pardon his son. Our Weijia Jiang spoke to one of the jurors in Wilmington, Delaware. Weijia, good morning.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. The jury deliberated for just under 3 hours over 2 days before reaching a decision. President Biden responded saying that he loved his son and was proud of the man he is today.
An emotional embrace just hours after Hunter Biden's conviction. President Biden arrived in Wilmington, having scrambled his schedule after a verdict was reached. The jury found the president's son guilty of 3 felony counts for illegally possessing a gun while he was addicted to crack cocaine and for making false statements about using drugs when he bought the firearm in October 2018. We spoke to juror number 10, who asked not to be identified.
When you first got the case, how split was the jury?
We took a vote, and the vote revealed it was 6-6.
He says that changed after combing through the prosecution's case.
Basically, after you went through all the evidence, there was no question.
There was no questions.
And he says the president never came up during deliberations.
It wasn't about his family. It wasn't politically motivated. It was what he did. And the biggest thing that he did was lied about not being a drug addict and not using cocaine and buying a gun.
During the week-long trial, several women in Hunter Biden's life took the stand, exposing the depths of his drug addiction, including Hallie Biden, the widow of his brother Beau, who Hunter later had a romantic relationship with. She testified about finding the gun in Hunter's truck near drug residue. Surveillance video showed her throwing it away in a dumpster. Hunter Biden did not testify, but prosecutors played audio excerpts from his memoir, chronicling his drug use.
Crack wasn't the only answer to my ache. But again, it was an answer.
Special counsel David Weiss oversaw the investigation.
Ultimately, this case was not just about addiction. This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction.
Following the verdict, Hunter Biden said in a statement, "I am more grateful today for the love and support I experienced this last week than I am disappointed by the outcome." He faces a maximum of 25 years in prison, which is unlikely for a first-time offender.
It's possible that the judge would opt instead for probation and a fine. My sense is that she's probably likelier to go at the lower end of the sentencing range.
Sentencing will likely happen sometime in the fall, and President Biden has said he will not pardon his son. Hunter Biden faces a second criminal trial charged with tax fraud. That will happen in September in California. He has pleaded not guilty. Anne-Marie.
Weijia, thank you. All right, now that we've given you all a recap, it's not time for some analysis. I want to bring in Jessica Levinson. She's a CBS News legal contributor and a Loyola Law School professor. So, Jessica, how likely is it, though, that Hunter Biden could face jail time? I know there's a significant amount of time that's an option, but what's the likelihood that that would happen?
The maximum amount, I think, very unlikely for all of the reasons that you and I talk about. And this is a first-time offense. This is a situation where this typically doesn't move forward as a standalone charge, meaning the legal possession of a gun and 2 counts of lying on a federal form. Usually these are counts bundled up with more serious crimes. I don't think that the prosecution is going to ask for the maximum. I think that's part of what we heard kind of under what David Weiss was actually saying in that press conference is that they're going to ask for what they would ask for in any other case, and that's not a quarter century. I think it is absolutely within the realm of possibility that we could see 1 to 2 years in federal prison. I think you are absolutely looking at the likelihood of incarceration, but not a quarter century.
So, of course, almost immediately, Hunter Biden's lawyers said they're looking into an appeal. Do you see grounds for an appeal here?
There's a really interesting grounds for appeal here dealing with the Second Amendment. I think this is something you and I talked about very briefly when this case just started moving forward. And the argument would be that the law that Hunter Biden is charged under is actually unconstitutional under the Second Amendment, and specifically under this conservative Supreme Court's Second Amendment decisions. Now, there was a case that we talked about back in 2022, the Bruin case, where the court laid out a new standard for determining when gun control restrictions are constitutional under the Second Amendment. It's a very narrow test, meaning it's very hard for restrictions to survive that test. And one thing that Hunter Biden already argued unsuccessfully, and I think will argue again, is that at least with respect to the gun possession charge, that's something that violates what the Supreme Court says is allowed under the current framework, meaning you have to just look at the history and tradition of our country to see if a similar type of restriction can be upheld. So look for that as being part of the appeal here.
And of course, he is the president's son. And so, you know, a president enjoys certain privileges. One of them is to pardon people. But the president said that he does not plan on pardoning his son. Are there other avenues that the president could pursue to perhaps soften the punishment?
Well, he could commute somebody's sentence. So instead of a pardon, commuting a sentence, really meaning cutting a sentence short. I read President Biden's comments to mean I'm not going to interfere, but he was asked about a pardon and said, I will not pardon. So commutation is something that is on the table, but I think is not likely.
And then finally, we know that Hunter Biden has another case. It's a tax case. I believe he's actually paid the taxes already, but the charges are still there. Are the two cases completely independent, or could one affect the other?
I think they're completely independent. And that was part of the problem with the plea bargain that you and I talked about that fell apart last summer, is that they were bundled together and they were seen as somewhat independent of each other. And that's why the similarities stop at the same defendant in federal cases, one in Delaware, one in California, completely different aspects of federal law. And so I think the jurors, what we heard from that juror interview is they're going to go in there and do their job. They're not going to say, you know what, he was guilty of gun possession, so he's probably guilty of tax evasion too. I think they will take each case separately, as they should.
Jessica Levinson, thank you so much.